Hello everyone, Colin Canet here for Woodwork Web. For any of you who are following my videos, you'll know that a short time ago I was at a tool swap meet and I picked up this great little Bailey plane for only $20. And part of the reason is that I really like the little plane. I don't have one like it. It was very inexpensive to purchase and I was in really good shape. So today we're going to go through the process of what to do to clean up an old plane. Now there's a few things that you'll need to get started to do anything to tune up an old plane. The first thing you'll need to do is you'll need to get a nice flat surface, and I went to the granite store and got an old chunk of, really it's scrap, but it was polished to a very high, I don't know if you can see it, was polished to a very high level, and it's very, very flat, and it's perfect because one of the first things we're going to need to do is to make sure the bottom is flat. The second thing you're going to need is some sort of a sharpening, a blade sharpening, and the blade in this plane is actually fairly sharp, but it's got some nicks in it, and we're just going to just give it a little bit of a tune-up. So the first thing we need to do is take the plane apart. Because this plane is in such good shape, we really don't need to, we're not going to really need to adjust anything too much, but this little lever flips up and that slides out like that, and that allows us to get at the chip breaker, and that's what this top thing is. This is for breaking up as the plane is going into the wood. This is to break up the wood as it comes over the blade. I'm just going to clean up the areas where there's a little bit of dust so that I can put some oil in there and lubricate it. The one thing we do when we're cleaning up blades is we use a felt pen and we put some squiggle lines on it, which is what I should have done first of all before I put the couple of drops of water on. And watch what happens when we give this a little bit of a working. See how some of the felt pen has gone away and some of it hasn't? Where it hasn't means it's low. So I need to keep working that until all of that felt pen has disappeared, and then I know that I've got a perfectly flat base. I'm not going to make you sit through all of it, but when I come back, we'll have gone through that process. Okay, that's got that. Now the next thing I need to do is take apart the blade and the chip breaker. And when you take them apart, you want to make sure that you check on how they came apart. There's a little bit of a spring to that. And the blade will always sit in the plane like that. You can see how that blade sits, and of course the chip breaker will sit on top of that, and the chip breaker wants to be as close to the end of the blade as you can get it, so 1/32 of an inch would be great. So what I'm going to do is take this over to my grinder, and I'm just going to use the polishing wheel on the grinder just to clean some of the rust off of that. If you don't happen to have a grinding wheel with a brush on it, you know, you can use like a 600 or 800 emery paper. It does at least a good job. It just takes a little bit longer, but it does a remarkable job. Just watch what this will do to clean that up. Now, to be honest, this is not a really good blade. We're going to carry on doing some sharpening on it and just go through the paces with it. But this little plane would be just spectacular if it had a really good blade in it. You can buy replacement blades for these, and this little plane would benefit immensely from that. So the first thing we want to do with our plane is with our blade is we want to make sure that the back is flat. Let me show you how we do that. I've checked this blade, and you might be able to see with this flat edge, this little blade here, I said it's not very good. It's warped quite badly actually, and it's going to take an awful lot of work. You can see that there's an awful lot of work there to get this flat, and to be honest, it's just really not worth it. For a few dollars I can get a much better blade than this, but that's what we do. We flatten the back of it, assuming this was a better blade, a little bit better shape, and then right now we're going to show you what we need to do to sharpen the front of the blade. I'm not going to go through the whole process with this because I already have a video on sharpening, but just to show you the way this works is the blade is going to get mounted in this way, but the first thing I need to do is I need to put this little jig on here, and it just slides in down here, and now we can put the plain blade in, and it slides in like that, and it runs along the side here until it butts up to that little area there, and then we just tighten it down on each side. And that way, now we can take this little piece off of here. Now what we have is a blade that's square to the jig and at the right angle. And now we just place that, we'll put a little bit of water on there again, on our grit. And all we're going to do now is rotate like this until that blade is absolutely sharp. And before I go too far with this, I'm just going to check and make sure that the end is getting sharpened. Oh yeah, it's actually looking quite good already. There, I've given that as much as I need to for our demonstration purposes right now. The next thing I would do, the last thing I would do, and normally I would go through a variety of different grits, but I'm not going to do that with this blade, because I am going to replace it, but there will be a little tiny burr on there, and we just want to take that burr off of there. So the very last thing we do is to just give that blade a final flattening on the back, and when we clean that off, that should be really clean. So we're going to put this plane back together again, and we're going to give it a whirl. Here, let's try that. Oh, look at that. That's amazing. Here. Getting nice, thin across the board, and that's nice and flat. So it is possible to clean that blade up so that it's acceptable, but a better blade in there would give even better results than that. So that's really all it takes to clean up a used blade. Now this one had a little bit of rust on it, and we cleaned a lot of that off. We flattened the bottom. We did as good we could with the blade. Unfortunately, the blade is bent. Something I couldn't see at the swap meet. You just can't take things apart and examine all the parts of it. But that's okay. I still love this little plane. It's a great little plane. I'm very happy I got it. And with a new better quality blade, and it's going to be just a stellar little plane. So that concludes our video. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, we ask you to do that. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.